If you're watching this video right now and you've experienced going into Facebook Messenger, connecting with somebody new, working to move the conversation with the goal in mind of making a sale happen, and you move that conversation, get to the point where you're close to presenting that offer and hopefully making the sale, and you get ghosted and ignored. If that's you, stick around, subscribe to the channel, like this video before we even dive in, because I'm about to show you exactly how to go out and make high ticket sales happen through Facebook Messenger in the most effective and efficient way possible. So to kick things off, I want to give you some backstory on the way that I like to look at Messenger conversations, and that's breaking them up as though they're a series of dates with someone. So if you go into your first date with some new girl or some new guy that you're going out on a date with and you're going out for dinner, if you go into dinner and you start asking intrusive questions about their previous relationships and random intrusive questions, the chances of them being open to having a second date with you are slim to none. Because you're not connecting with them. You're just trying to pull information from them to get to your end goal of figuring out if they're the type of person that you want to be with. But at the end of the day, if you want to effectively land that second date, you have to be able to relate to that person and connect with them on a genuine level without some ulterior motive in mind. And that's really what it comes down to with Messenger conversations. So number one, it's thinking of them as dates, as series of different dates. But more than anything, on that first date, your goal is to be genuine. Your goal is to connect with them on a personal level and ultimately relate to them as much as you can, because you want to be able to stand out to them and make it so they're open to actually hearing you out and being responsive to you. If you start out the conversation pitching them or asking them intrusive questions right away, they're going to ghost you and run as quick as they possibly can. So that's point number one. So now let's talk about actually initiating that conversation. So if let's say you're on Facebook and I just added you as a friend, you watching this video right now. If I add you as a friend and you accept my friend request and I reach out to you right away and I say, hey, so-and-so, I noticed we're in some of the same marketing groups together. What do you do? What are they going to say in their mind? They're probably going to say, I've seen this message 15 million times. Why do I want to reply to this? But if you diversify yourself and you add them as a friend, they accept. And number one, you take some time to look at their content and their profile before, and you interact with their posts, show them some love, drop them a comment, and reach out to them and say, hey, so-and-so, I just saw you dropped a post around your coaching biz. I love your point of view on this topic. How long have you been doing this for? Boom. Now you're actually initiating the conversation in a warm way that's automatically right around business, that's actually going to lead them to responding to you because you're showing genuine interest in them. You're showing that you actually took the time to look at their profile and that you're not just coming in with an ulterior motive in mind. The biggest thing with that is that you're being genuine and you're showing that you took the time to take a look at what they're all about and what they're doing. So that's initiating the conversation itself. From there, after you have a little bit of small talk back and forth, you've successfully accomplished your goal of the first date with that person. You had an engaged conversation with them and you've opened yourself up to the opportunity to have a strong second date with them. And I'm about to show you now how to move things within that second date itself and really what the goal of that second date is all about. So let's talk about initiating that second date Messenger conversation. This can really come from two ways. Either number one, being proactive and going out and making that conversation happen without them commenting on your content or raising their hand in your content, which I'll talk about here in a second. And by being proactive, I mean you reaching back out to them and saying, hey, so-and-so, I've been watching your profile since we last connected, and I noticed a few things you could do to improve on blank. Do you mind if I ask you a few quick questions to get a better understanding of where you're at with your business or what you're doing with your business right now? Point number two that you could do is have your content dialed in. That's the easiest way to do it. And that's the way it should be. So you're not having to always rely on initiating things and being proactive. So if you have your content dialed in, your content should be constantly taking people from cold, being unfamiliar with you and not knowing you, to warm, starting to like you and trust you, to hot, to the point where they want to learn more about how you can help them and what you're all about. And once you get them to the point where they're starting to warm up and get hot, when you put out a lead generation piece of content that's geared towards getting them to comment, raise their hand and show you that, hey, I'm interested in what you do and what you have to offer to help me, now you can move them into a second date that's a lot more efficient and effective. So now that I've talked about how to initiate that second date, Let's talk about the messaging process behind that date itself. So whether it's coming from your lead generation content or you being proactive in initiating that conversation itself, after you've opened things up and asked for permission to ask a few quick questions, asking for permission is key there because they're showing you that, hey, I'm open to answering some questions for you because you seem like you know what you're talking about. When they say yes to that, now it's time to ask a series of a few more questions to get them to the point where you can actually present that offer itself. So question number one that I usually ask is, okay, what are you currently selling and what's the price point? Because I want to get an understanding of if they're in high ticket or whether they're not in a high ticket opportunity. So they'll let me know I'm currently selling this program or this coaching and it's priced at $1,000 or $1,500 or $5,000, whatever it is. Awesome. So right now within your business, with that current offer that you're selling, what are you working towards achieving over the next 6 months? Next, they'll say, okay, I'm working to achieve a goal of $10K a month in my business. That's really what I want to get to. Okay, great. Love the goal. So what do you feel like right now within your process of working towards achieving that goal is your biggest challenge? Next, they'll say, oh, my biggest challenge right now is generating leads or making sales happen, whatever it may be. Awesome. So now that you have a snapshot on what they're currently selling, how it's priced, what their goal is, what their biggest challenge is, keep in mind with those three questions, those are interchanging for you and your offer. So if you're not selling business coaching, obviously that first question wouldn't be what you're currently selling and how it's priced. You have to tailor those for your own needs based on what you're selling itself. But point aside, the core is to get to those three core qualifying questions. 1, 2, and 3. After they answer those, now this is where it comes down to effectively presenting that offer itself and getting them to take action. So what a lot of people will do in this instance is they've answered all three questions and now they get to the point where they see that the person wants to achieve 10K a month. They see that they're challenging and they have a struggle with something and they're not at that goal yet. So on the other end, you as the person selling, you get excited and you say, okay, perfect. This is my time to present this offer that I'm selling because this could really help them. So you jump in right away and you say, okay, that's good to know. So I'm a part of this program or I run this program called this and it helps you do this. Here's the link to check it out. Or do you want to learn more of how it could help you? And as soon as you do that, you're going to get one of two responses. Either the person's going to ghost you and you're never going to hear back from them again, or they're going to say, yeah, sure, send it over. And you'll send that link over and again, you'll never hear from them again. You'll get ghosted. So in order to avoid this, keep in mind that in a messenger conversation, it's very important to, number one, keep them engaged and keep them interacting at that point of the conversation, because the moment you let them slip away, sending them a link or sending them off to something else is the moment that you're never likely going to hear back from them. So keeping them on that point of the conversation and keeping them engaged is super key. And you can do this by asking them questions like, does this make sense? Or does that make sense? Just like you would do on a call. Because if they slip away and if they don't reply, you're now going to try to initiate a third date. So once you get to the point in the conversation where you've asked them some qualifying questions, you have a snapshot on where they're at, what they're working towards, and what's holding them back, a few things happen here. Number one, usually 9 times out of 10, most people go and share a link right away and they say, awesome, thanks for sharing that with me. Based on what you said about this struggle, I think this will be really helpful for you. Here's the link. Or based on what you said about struggling with lead generation, I'm a part of a program or I have a coaching program called this and it helps you do this. If you'd like, I can send it over for you to check it out. And they'll say, yeah, sure, send it over. You send them the link and you get ghosted. Because you have an ulterior motive in mind. You're working to sell them right away and they can see that. They can sense it. They can smell it. And that's exactly what you don't want to do in Messenger. Messenger is difficult in the fact that it really comes down to building trust with your audience to make that sale happen. So now that you've gotten to the point in the conversation where you've asked some qualifying questions, I want to note that, remember that those qualifying questions will be different for each and every one of you watching this video, depending on what you're currently selling, and what the core qualifications you're looking for are out of people when you're messaging them itself. So keep that in mind. But with that aside, in this example, we're going to say that you get to the point where they answer those core qualifying questions like I just talked about. And they show you that they have a goal of 10K a month and they're struggling with lead generation. And right now in their business, they're at 1K a month. So in your mind, for most people, they're going to say, green light, now it's time to present my offer and try to make a sale happen. They think, okay, now this person is struggling, they want to get to this goal, they seem like they could be a good prospect, let's see if we can't make a sale happen. So you go right in and you start spewing out more information, probably sending more than you should, and you let them know that you're a part of a program or you have a program that helps resolve that. And you either send a link or you ask for permission to send a link over. And 9 times out of 10, that person will take that link and then you won't hear back from them again. Because number one, they're either going to be sticker shocked if they see it and it's a high ticket offer and they're going to run away. Or number two, they're going to know that you have an ulterior motive in mind in the messenger conversation. They're going to feel you being spammy and salesy. They're going to smell it. They're going to let you share whatever you want to share. They're going to walk away and you're not going to hear back from them. So either way, you're likely going to get ghosted. So on the flip side, in order to effectively make that transition, something simple that you can say. Okay, thanks for sharing that with me. Based on what you said about your struggle with generating leads, I have a few thoughts for you on how you could possibly resolve that. If you'd be open to it, I'd love to hop on a quick phone call to chat further on this to see if I can support you in helping you get that in place. Now it immediately switched to being genuine, to you actually creating curiosity by acknowledging what they said with their struggle and you showing them that, hey, you have some insight on how to resolve it. They don't know what that insight is. They want to learn what it is, so they're going to be more open to hopping on a phone call with you. They say yes. From there, you ask for permission. Cool. Is it cool if I share the link over to you so we could pick a time to chat? Or what time works for you tomorrow? Set that time for the call itself, and now you have a sales opportunity booked and a call booked. That's simple. So in summary, Messenger is a very powerful tool, especially when selling high ticket offers, because of the ability to actually connect with that person in an intimate one-to-one conversation. Where most people slip up on it is they're either moving too fast, they're saying too much, and they enter the conversation with an ulterior motive in mind. And when you do that, the person on the other end of that conversation can smell it from a mile away. So it's important to think about, okay, if I were on the other end of this line right now, as I'm sending messages, how would I react to this message? That's super key. And think about, okay, if I'm asking this question now, what question can I ask next to get them closer to the point where I want to get them to present my offer? And if you're choosing to try to sell on Messenger directly and you're not going for phone calls, remember that it's a lot more difficult to do so because of the fact that at the end of the day, in order for someone to buy from you, they need to really trust you. And unless you can really portray that trust within Messenger and within your content, it's very difficult to get that sale to actually convert. So if you're selling in Messenger alone, it can 100% work. It's very effective to do so. I personally closed my first 20K in high ticket sales on Facebook Organic just in Messenger. But the reason it worked for me is because my content was dialed in. Because I had a clear direction with who I was speaking to in my content. I was filtering out the freebie seekers or the people that weren't willing to invest. So when they raised their hand on my content, they knew what to expect when they moved into that Messenger conversation. They knew that it wasn't cheap to work with me. They knew all of these things going into it, so I had to do less qualification and more getting straight to the point of actually giving them the opportunity to join with me if I felt it was a good fit. So that's something to keep in mind when you're working to sell in Messenger conversations itself. Know that the moment you let somebody slip away is the moment that you're likely never going to get them back. So if you're getting to the point where you're trying to present that offer in Messenger, make sure you're asking questions like, does that make sense? Or does that sound good to you? Confirm so they can let you know from their end if something's unclear, if they have a question. Because especially if you're selling something that's $1,000, $2,000 and you're doing it in Messenger, you need to make sure that their questions are answered because they're going to have at least one question. And if you don't ask for them and ask, does that make sense to you? Or do you have any questions? They're not going to share it. They're just going to ghost it and walk away. But if you show genuine care to them, actually ask that question and show them that you want to help make sure that they have a clear understanding of it, they're going to be a lot more open to sharing that with you itself. But more than anything, if you want to make the process easier on yourself, go towards a phone call. The reason I prefer phone calls is because I value my time and I know that I would rather spend 30 minutes on a call with someone, identifying whether they're a good fit or not, than spend 2 hours of back and forth conversation trying to get someone to take action and then getting ghosted. So with that said, that's a wrap for this video. I hope you enjoyed the training on how to effectively close sales in Messenger and create sales opportunities in Messenger And again, if you got value from this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel below, and I will see you.